Yeah, thank you, Scott. I want to start today with a small story. So once there was a young man who was studying Zen. It'd be in the East where Zen is more popular. And he read all kinds of books and he's a bright guy. He really learned a lot. He finally decided, well, I think I can go maybe see if this Zen master up on the hill can teach me anything. So he goes up to the Zen master and he says, yeah, I want to become your student in the ashram. So the Zen master said, nodded his head politely, and the student, to impress the master, started talking about everything he knew and all the stuff he knew about Zen and going on and on about philosophy. And the Zen master said, excuse me, would you like a cup of tea? Which kind of took the student back. Here he was talking this high philosophy, and the master's asking him if he wants a cup of tea, but he said, yes, yes, please, a cup of tea. And then he prattles on with all the knowledge he has. And the Zen master's pouring his tea, was already prepared. He keeps pouring, the cup fills up, and he keeps pouring. All of a sudden, the tea's flowing out of the cup all over the saucer and down onto the mat. The student says, the applicant says, "Oh, stop! The cup is full." The Zen master looked at him and said, "Yes, your cup is full. There's no more I can give you." So I'll let you contemplate the meaning of that story while we do some exercises to warm up. How is everybody? First of all, how is everybody tonight?
Good.
Good. Okay. All right. So yeah, we'll just do a usual warm up, and then I did introduce a new meditation that I'll go over, and then we'll talk about food. Okay. So again, this is a nice little warm up to start with the hands right here at the heart center. Breathe in, feel it lifting through the crown of the head. Interlock the fingers at the end of that in breath, and then exhale, stretch. Inhale, push up, feel the ribs open. On the exhale, clasping the hands behind the back. Inhale, shoulder blades together, opening that heart center, and exhale back. So we move with the breath. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, stretch. Inhale, push up, stretching a different place. Exhale, round back. Inhale, shoulder blades together, really opening that chest and back once again. Yeah, stretch, move with the breath and not too fast. Nice deep breaths, nice slow movement. And back. Inhale. Okay, this time inhale up. Reach for the ceiling. Take a breath here. Really reach. And then come over to one side. Pause for a moment and come back up on the inhale. Exhale over. Again, moving side to side and forward is initiated with an exhale. Move breath out, that is. Bending backwards is with breath in. That's the simple rule. Once more, one more round here, moving with the breath. Up and come over, and this time hold the pose. Notice if you're a little bit forward and try to rotate so you have one shoulder over the other. Each exhale, try to lengthen a little bit. Feel you're anchored with the hips and you're lifting out all through the ribs, through the arm, to the fingertips. Then inhale up, about 4 or 5 breaths, roughly. Again, those little movements with the inhale, check your alignment. With the exhale, open a little more. Big breaths through the belly. And then inhale again, reach for the ceiling. Exhale, one hand on the knee, one hand on the floor to keep yourself from leaning over. You want to be nice and tall as you come into a twist. And again, we'll move with the breath and then hold. So about 3, 4 times moving with the breath, focusing on keeping that spine nice and long, lifting through the crown of the head. Big breath, deep in the belly and over. Time, come and hold. Each inhale, lift through the crown of the head. Each exhale, let go. You're really trying to relax deeper in the pose at this point, but then turn the head opposite the belly. And here you can put a little tension. Tip the head in one direction, pull the belly the other. It's kind of like a tighten and then release, kind of like what we did in progressive muscle relaxation. But the first time, the first 4 or 5 breaths, so you're really trying to let go to go deeper in the pose rather than forcing. So try to work with that concept of letting go, relaxing into the pose. Then this, when you do the opposite, then you can put a little tension in and then feel the release of that tension coming forward. Yes, where are we going to go from here? Let's, I think I can do this from here. Let's come onto your knees like so, if you can. I don't think I'm going to fit totally into the camera. But we can inhale up, reaching for the ceiling, exhale. As you come down, the arms are rotating. So that your hands come palms up on the back, then onto your heels, onto the thighs, and finally forehead on mat. Inhale, reverse that. Lift the forehead first, then off your thighs, then off your heels, rotating the arms so that palms face each other when you're up. Exhale. And again, if this is hard on the knees, getting something under here and help. My knees are starting to get a little stiff with age. But really try to feel kind of a flow with this. Moving with the breath again, inhaling up, exhaling down. One more time. Coming up and then back onto all fours. So here they call it tabletops. You want to be like a table, not a warp table. And, knees about under the hips. Walk the hands forward, hands width, curl the toes, push yourself up to downward dog, lift hips, sink chest. Weight to the base of the fingers rather than the palms. Protect the wrist. And then walk yourself forward. And excuse me a minute while I move the camera. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Actually, here's a fun one. Yeah, I'll give it a try. It's a little bit more dramatic in person, but this is called Breath of Joy, Breath of Fire, whichever you like. It's got a 3-part inhale followed by a vigorous exhale, bending the knees. So the inhale, the 3 parts, the first third of the inhale, bring the arms up. Second third, you bring them to your sides. Next third up. And then the exhale, bend the knees and ha, like that. Really making some sound, pushing it out and getting it going, okay? So let's try it. Again. Ha, that. Ha, ha. And again, really push from the belly. Ha, Once more. Ha! That really, since you don't have your cameras on, I can't tell you what you're doing, but the sound, making some sound, really, it's an energizer for sure. How's everybody feeling? Okay, catching your breath. Let's come into the mountain pose. Just my mat here. Okay, those feet nice and grounded, almost like you're sending roots into the ground. Imagine bringing your shins together. They don't really move much. It's more of an isometric. Lift the kneecaps. Putting the thighs outward a little bit. Lift from the pelvic floor, sort of pulling the pubic bone up. Stabilizing the hips, of course. Big breath, navel in and up. Third week, we talked about anatomy. Remember the parts of the spine? This is stabilizing the lumbar, the five vertebrae. Form the abdominal cavity, or the back of the abdominal cavity. Shoulders up and back, but buoyant. Upper arms outwards, opening that heart center. Elbows down inwards, spreading the fingers. Chin level and throat to the back of the neck. The 7 cervical spine, the form of the neck. Lift the collarbone, bring the lower ribs in and lift through the crown of the head, lengthening the spine. That's engaging, remember those multifidi that help stabilize the thoracic spine. Okay, but also mentally forming the mountain, noticing how it's rooted deep in the earth, but the peaks above the clouds. We too are grounded on the earth. And remembering that the mountain endures all kinds of weather, storms, earthquakes, floods, fires, and yet it's still here. And we too endure a lot of stuff, and we are still here. So we do have that confidence in our bodies that we're an enduring presence. Okay, just stepping forward, come into warrior one. Maybe I'll do this at an angle. Let's do this with this heart opening. And if you like, you can put an affirmation in. You know, just a thought you want to cultivate tonight. Back. Time, hold the pose. Maybe about 4 or 5 repetitions, your affirmation. Back. Again, hold the pose, 4 or 5 repetitions of an affirmation, a thought, a mantra. And once more, holding pose, opening the chest, repeating that affirmation. And back. Pause a second, switch sides. So the other foot forward, I just turned, but you can either turn or you can actually pull back and reset, whichever you like. Always remember the mountain though. Here, you're still grounding those feet, lifting the pelvic floor, shoulders up and back, lifting through the crown of the head. Then open and back with the breath. And this time repeating your affirmation. Again, inhale, hold, repeat your affirmation. Once more. Inhale, open, hold, and back. Pause for a moment. Come back. Inhale up, reach, fold forward. Try to fold from the hips rather than the shoulders, at least halfway down. And then come as far as you can. Lift hips, chest. Inhale back up. We'll move it in and out of this forward fold. Exhale. Inhale back up. So this time hold the forward fold. Slide the hands up so they're right beneath the knees, not pushing on the knees. Pull back on the hips, lift the shoulders, try to lengthen the back. Of course, get a nice stretch from the back of the legs. And then bend those knees and come on back down to your downward dog. And then onto the mat into your belly as I move my camera again. Okay. So we're on our bellies. Yeah. Excuse me. So remember the cobra from the last week or a couple weeks ago? Inhale, exhale. Pull back, throat to the back of the neck, and then pull back in the hands. Just come up halfway without pushing first. This is again to try to encourage movement in the upper thoracic spine. And slowly back down. Once again, I kind of pulling back on the hands here. They don't really move much, but it gives a feeling of lengthening in the spine. Again, this is the breath held in with this style. And exhale forward. Okay, now we can go up, but let's go all the way up in 2 stages. First, the half cobra and then into the full cobra. So take a deep breath in and out. Inhale, pull back, lift first chest, then push in, lifting the belly, hold, and you can be repeating your affirmation. And exhaling slowly down. Let's just repeat that. So in this style yoga, the distinguishing parts are held breath and repetition. Rather than doing lots of poses, we do a few, but we repeat them so that we really get the full benefit of them. Deep breath in and out. Pull back, lift. Exhale back down. Slowly, belly first, lower ribs. Can you get into that flow? Inhale back up. When you're ready, hold the breath in the pose. Exhale slowly down. Now let's do 2 more tonight. Deep breath in and out. Inhale up slowly, then hold. And exhale back down. You know, pause as much as you need between poses. Last one, coming up, slow, hold. Remember affirmation to repeat. And slowly back down. Push yourself up. And then again, this forward fold. And once again, you're on your heels. A lot of people do it this way. The preferred way, though, is to curl the toes, unless they're hard on your toes. In which case, as I say, I see a lot of students doing the other way, and that seems to be okay. Again, if the knees hurt when you do that, just putting something under like this can make it more accessible. Again, start here at heart center. Try to keep that posture up. I certainly can work on my posture.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Are there any other ways that we can do that if you just don't want to bend your knees like that at all? I'm afraid I'm
Oh, so you
afraid
can't
to
get
bend
enough
my
under
knees
here?
like that.
Okay, so
Is there another position I could do that?
so yeah, let me so even putting something under doesn't help.
Yeah, because you know what? My problem is right here on
Again,
both of them. So honestly, maybe I could do it with a pillow under the front and something under the back.
oh, so it's the pressure on your knees.
The pressure on the knees. I believe one day I'll have to
Maybe some kind, this is probably
have
not the
something
ideal
done.
pillow, but you
That's
could try
all.
this.
Maybe I'll try something like that. Let me see. Let me
Worst
see.
comes to worst, you can do it in a chair, or you can
Let me see how that
how
works.
about we try an alternative one?
Yeah, you know what?
Like
Let's go.
this.
I've got to. I put a pillow under the front. That's good right now. Let's try that.
Are you good?
Yes, sir. For now, I'm gonna see. Thank you.
Okay. You could even do it sitting in a chair with the idea
I
of
may
folded
end
forward.
up doing that. I'm so afraid I'm gonna hurt myself worse than whatever is going on. But yeah, I may eventually do a chair.
You should always adjust.
Yes, sir.
Force yourself. There's no perfect. Perfect is
Yes.
what works for you. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I think that's one of the problems in yoga studios is there's this ideal that you have to be very flexible, and there's no
Certain way, and
you have to
everybody's not like that. Yes, sir.
right. But everybody
Yeah.
can do yoga. They just have to modify the pose.
Absolutely.
So the modification I showed you is good if you have, like me, weak knees, but it sounds like you have more going on. If the pillow's working for you now, we'll give it a try.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, we can always just do an alternative pose.
Right.
Okay, inhale up, and there's a held inhale coming forward. I like to pull back on the hips and stretch those arms. Hold the breath out. Repeat affirmation and back up. Much better to modify the pose or substitute than to not do anything or to injure yourself.
Yes, sir.
Inhale up and back. So you always have permission, not that we do anything very vigorous, but you always have permission to modify or even hold off on one pose. But it's good if you can modify it and get some of the benefit. So in this one really here, again, you're trying to let go, very much like a prayer pose, remember? So you're letting go of all the tension that came up during the day. And if you like, you can also work on strengthening the abdominals. If you keep your arms up nice and high, and stretch out, and held the breath held out. Affirmations. Now to really work the abdomen, you keep those arms up as you lift. So you're forcing strength here to lift for the leverage with the arms out. But that's optional. But if you like building abdominal strength, let's do two more, this one and one more. One more big breath and let go. Okay. Here, I don't think we've gone over body massage yet. Let's do this. This is a nice way to finish off a asana practice. Asana being the yoga pose is the Sanskrit term for it. Start by rubbing those hands together, and if you cup the eyes and pull them down right above the eyebrows, this helps to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Remember, the sympathetic nervous system is go, deal with stuff, anxiety producing sometimes. And the secret about Being able to handle stress is you also turn it off. And that's where the parasympathetic comes in. Doing activities where you quiet the mind, get the balance. You're rubbing the hands together again, rubbing the forehead. And hopefully meditation can bring some of that up too, if you can really quiet the mind. Down the temples and ears, cheeks, lips and chin. Get a little closer here. Thumbs underneath the jaw. Work your way back, all the way even to the ears. A lot of lymph nodes here, and one of the things the massage does is help to move lymph. The lymphatic system, like venous blood, is not pumped by the heart. It requires movement, and we don't get enough. Massage helps. The throat, along the larynx. Use your thumbs. Give a little pressure with your palms. And then under the armpits, along the arm. Again, a lot of lymph nodes right under here. One way to open up put a little pressure here, you can open up your nasal passages sometimes. This one is blocked, you can put pressure under the armpit. And then down to the hands and fingers, each finger between thumb and the forefinger, the palm of the hand. And then the same thing on the other side. The other shoulder, come down and all the way up in that armpit, down the elbow, forearm, wrist, hand in each finger, thumb. Taking time to appreciate all you can do with your hands, thumbs, the palms. Some of these points are related in acupuncture to different things. But look, think what we can do all this, our hands. No other species has that much control. And it took us, if you've ever been around an infant, you'll know that it takes 3 months or so before they can really reach out and grab and do even elementary things with the hands, getting along the back. And that is because, and switch sides, that's because the mind-body connection with our hands is so exquisite. It takes time for that to develop. You know, a horse can walk a couple hours after it's born, but not a human. We have to lay down those tracks. Okay, along the ribs and the chest. Again, it's a reminder to women to always examine yourself, because breast cancer is the leading cancer in women in the United States. Along the belly, through the navel, and from the back, starting from the right between the hip bone and the lower ribs, starting from the spine outwards. It's a set of muscles here, QL muscles. I think I might have mentioned that. They tighten up when there's stress. A lot of times backache comes from right here. Sometimes it comes from right here. So we hit the glutes. This alignment. I like to do knuckles. You can vary that. And then the legs, you start right up in the upper thigh here along the hip, and then down the thigh. You can dig, you can rub. A Jamaican student in my class once showed me chops. There's a big, strong muscle here in the thigh. The knee, though, a little more gently, pushing from underneath. See if I can demonstrate that. Push from underneath and rotate the kneecap. Many of us develop knee issues as we get older. Along the calf, down to the Achilles heel, and the top of the foot to the tips of the toes. And turning that foot over. You can get along the arch. Sometimes you can stroke the knuckles. You can dig with your thumbs. You can use your elbow. And then each toe base to tip from the bottom. Again, the whole practice of reflexology is that there are nerve endings in the foot that you can massage. And it's theory. It's whatever the theory is, it's a good therapeutic method. Okay. Other legs, same thing. Start right up in the thigh, get or the hip area, and go along the thigh, digging with the thumbs, chopping, or whatever. Again, this is free forms like jazz. Improvise. Okay, and then the knee rotating and giving a little pressure from underneath the knee with the other hand. And then the thigh, again, you can be vigorous and dig, or the calf, excuse me. Achilles heel. One training we're doing, somebody who does shiatsu massage, this is a important point here along the Achilles heel, top of the foot to tips of the toes. And turning that foot over. Again, knuckles, thumbs, elbow, whatever appeals to you. And each toe base to tip. And I've seen some people say spread those toes out. And finish a nice slap. And come on down into your backs. I think we can take a little time and do I like hands at the sides, feet slightly apart. Lift the head and bring it back. Or if you have something like a blanket, you can put it underneath the head. It's nice to raise the head just a little bit, get the jaw coming down toward the chest. And just start with some deep breaths through the belly. We'll just do a short body scan tonight. You have a recording of it in the yoga poses folder. Again, starting with your bring your awareness to the soles of your feet and whatever sensations you feel or lack of sensations. And you just keep moving your awareness along the soles of your feet to the balls and finally to your toes, the large toe on each foot. Doing both feet simultaneously, the second toes. Just noticing what's there, the middle toes. Fourth toe and the small toes on each foot. And coming around to the top of the foot, moving your awareness to, again, embracing whatever sensations or lack of sensations you find. Non-judgmental awareness, complete acceptance of whatever is there. Bring your awareness to your heels. And again, that Achilles heel we were massaging. And from there, up your shins and calves, slowly, just moving like a slow scanner. Just noticing what sensations you find. And when you come to the knees, pause there for a bit. Where the kneecaps, the outside of the kneecaps, underneath the kneecaps, center your knees, backs of your knees. Just notice what sensations you find. If you like, you can imagine breathing into your knees, the in-breath, and breathing out from them. If you can breathe energy in and let tightness and tension leave your body and sink into the floor. And bring your awareness slowly up the thighs. Front of the thighs where the quadriceps are, the back of the thighs where the hamstrings. Center of the thigh, right along the femurs, as you go on both thighs. Again, just working slowly up to the mid thigh and slowly on up until you come to your hips. And remember that ball and socket joint at the head of the femur coming into the ilium, or the bones that form your hips. Two bones joined by the sacrum at the sacroiliac joint. And bring your awareness to the lowest part of your spine and to the pelvic bowl, and whatever you find here is sensitive area of the body. Again, non-judgmental awareness. Whatever sensations are there, just accept them. And when you're ready, moving on, coming up to the belly behind the navel and the lumbar spine, the lower part of your back. Some gentle belly breaths, letting the belly rise and fall with each breath. Nice and slow, nice and calm. Then bring your awareness up to your chest, the ribs, thoracic spine. And whatever sensations, the shoulder blades, whatever sensations you find up here in the upper back. And breathing in through your chest, letting the chest rise and fall with each breath. Try to imagine or perceive the sensation of the air going into your lungs and leaving on the exhale. And lie still, focus a little to the left and see if you can detect the beating of your own heart. As you do, give some thanks to your heart. It's beating from before the moment before you were born. Early on, when you were in your mother's womb, the heart was beating. And it's beaten, keeps beating throughout your life. You know, bring your awareness up to the shoulders, and from there down your arms to your hands, palms of your hands. Touch receptors are exquisitely sensitive in our hands. So move on from the palms to your thumbs. Sensations in your thumbs, and into your forefingers, the middle fingers. I should say index fingers, then the middle fingers, and the ring fingers. And finally the pinkies. Again, just open to whatever sensations are there, just exploring them, seeing what you can find. As you move on to the backs of your hands, and there to the wrist, joint that has mobility in many directions, called a gliding joint. Then from the wrist on up through your forearms slowly, just like your awareness is scanning your elbows. And just welcoming all sensations and then letting them go. Come to your elbows, and from your elbows to your upper arms. Triceps and back, biceps in the front of your arms, the center, the humerus, arm bone. And again, moving up from the elbows along the upper arm. And finally focusing on the humerus and where it forms another ball and socket joint. With actually the shoulder girdle, the same bone that forms the shoulder blades or scapula. All one piece. That's the socket part. Notice what you find in your shoulders. And we talked about in week 3, this is less stable, more mobile joint. Sometimes we get difficulties for that reason. And we often hold tension in the shoulders too, between the shoulder blades and up to the collarbone. And there, from there to your throat and the sides and back of your neck. Again, open to whatever sensations are there. You can even feel like you can breathe through your neck, your throat. And your awareness to your chin and jaw. And just accepting whatever sensations you find. Your lips, your teeth, and your cheeks and your nose. And from your cheeks to your eyes, the eye sockets, your eyebrows and your forehead. Then the sides of your head, down the temples and your ears. Working along the sides of your head to the back, your head where it's resting on whatever you're lying on. And finally, the top of your head. You can imagine breathing in from the top of your head all the way down your body to your fingertips and your toes, and exhaling all the way back out. And just let yourself lie in a rhythm of the breath for a few moments. Each exhale, letting go deeper and deeper, letting the body sink into whatever you're lying on. Hey, bring your awareness back to your breath if it's wandered. Then back to the sensations in the top of your head, down to your back of your head, the sides and temples, back to your face and your ears, excuse me, then your face, your forehead, your eyes. You can blink your eyes if you like. Your nose and your cheeks, your lips. Let yourself smile, your chin, your jaw all the way back. And the throat and the neck, sides and back of the neck. Maybe just a gentle rocking of the head. Just warm it back up, get it moving. Your awareness to your shoulders, and from your shoulders down your arms, to your elbows, and the elbows down to your wrists, hands, and fingers. Move the fingers, move the arms. And then take a nice deep breath, expanding into the chest and out. Next breath, deep into the belly. Couple more nice deep breaths, feeling the sensation in the chest and the belly. Then bring your awareness to your hips, back of the hips, and then right down through that ball and socket joint, through your thighs to your knees, from the knees down to your ankles, and from your ankles and heels, forward the feet to the toes, moving the hands, moving the arms and legs. Take some deep breaths, and when you're ready, just bring the knees up toward the chest and roll over to one side. And pause there a moment. As you're ready, push yourself up into a seated position in a way that's most comfortable for you. Okay. And just take a few moments and then we'll continue on. Okay, so we're gonna yeah, I want to go over some of the reading I had for you. First of all, how did everybody find the reading? Was it accessible? Any questions? You have to unmute yourself if you want to say something.
It was accessible.
Okay. All right, so Dietary Guidelines for American, DGA. It's two agencies, the Department of Agriculture and the Health and Human Services, the one that funds NIH. And the guidelines themselves, I only gave you the executive summary. They're a few hundred pages long, but they're divided into sections. It used to be that the guidelines talked a lot about nutrients. Now we're talking about eating patterns, healthy eating patterns, and through a lifetime. And that's the sections of the guidelines tend to be divided by age group or general age group. Let's see, PDF. So what I wanted to, so this large document is so accessible to the public, and it's meant more for health professionals. Although I invite you to read it, and I can post a link for it. But I also have a copy because I'm not sure what the current administration is going to do with the dietary guidelines. They're updated every 5 years. The Biden administration formed the Dietary Guidelines Committee, which does the research to update the guidelines. But then the department had administration change, and it's up to the current administration to actually formulate the final version. And we're not sure what we're going to get. But anyway, leaving aside the politics of it, for the public to make something more accessible, they have something called My Plate. And let me show you that. And that's this website right here. I think I gave you the link for it, hopefully. And I'm also wanting you to use this maybe to just evaluate your own guidelines. There's a couple ways you can find the different components. Here's this nice one way. Whoops. Jeez. Hey, 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 hey. These are getting in the way. You can click on this healthy eating tablet and go, let's say, what do I need for vegetables? And scroll it that way. And this is what it is, nutrient benefits, and what counts. You keep scrolling down. How many are needed? This is very general here. What counts as a cup of cooked vegetable? But if you want to get to what's good for your age group and your gender, you go all the way down to uh, daily vegetable table. You click that, and here we go. You can find your gender, your age group, and you get about what you should be, what they're recommending, what the government is recommending. And so, in the written assignment, that's what I'd like you to do is just maybe make a log of what you eat one or 2 days, and then just and try to make it something, or even just write down what you would normally eat before you even look at this, and then see how you're doing. Now, if you don't want to hit this tab, you can also just click on your same place. So you have more than one way to get to it. The healthy eating tab, or right on the.
So you know you're not sharing your screen, right? Did you think you were sharing screen?
It's telling me I'm sharing a screen.
Uh-oh, so then it's not on my screen. How do I get it?
So
I see all of y'all.
what are you seeing?
I see you. I see Miss
Sharon, what are you seeing?
Karen, and I see Dee Dee.
I see the screen. I see the myplate.gov.
Do you see his screen?
Yeah, myplate.gov. Yeah, it's got a little plate.
Wow.
I wonder what
Wonder
happened
what I
because
need to do to bring it up, y'all.
here, let me stop sharing and try to share again. Do you have that's weird because it should share for everybody.
And I should be seeing it and not you.
Well, right now you're seeing me because I stopped
Yes,
sharing.
sir. But I'm saying the whole time I've
Okay.
seen you.
Okay, here I'm going to start sharing again, and I'll pick the My Plate, and I'll hit share, and it should.
Yep, that did it. That did it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're
Yes,
all
sir.
here.
Now, thank you.
Okay, so from the home screen, you can just click on each one of these.
Okay.
Dairy, by the way, for people who don't eat dairy, has alternatives. Some soy and alternative milks if you don't want to use dairy for some reason. The protein group, again, there's some flexibility here. Of course, normally we think of protein as seafood, meat, and all that stuff, but they include uh, beans, peas, lentils, soy products. In other words, you do not have to use animal products to get protein. One word about protein. Protein is very important for the body. It's so important for all living things. And for that reason, it's in almost all plant foods. It's everywhere. So uh, I know when I was taking nutrition years ago, it was said there was not a documented protein deficiency in absence of not enough food or not enough calories. It's just because there's a lot of emphasis on you got to get enough protein. And I don't know. From a nutrition point of view, it's important, but it's also widely available. I think that's the message I want to say. Any thoughts about any of these groups? I think, if we just go fruits, vegetables, grains. The thing about grains is they recommend that half the grains be um, whole grains. So I think the difference between like brown rice and regular rice, or whole wheat bread, and most breads are refined. Uh, Balance, the dietary guidelines say, about half and half. So anything, I think I guess I'm doing a little more talking. And again, of course, you can get your daily grain table down here. Okay. Any questions or any thoughts about that? Of course, you can explore all these tabs if you like. Going back to the healthy eating tab, what's not on the logo is more key topics. Hello. So more key topics is more about things you want to limit, about oils, limit sugars, little or no added sugars. This is a big thing in This is in the United States culture, I think sugar is one of the big issues because it's everywhere. Particularly if you use any kind of soft drinks, they're going to be loaded with sugar. And there's a lot of data show not only diabetes, but a lot of, remember the things we suffer from are heart disease, cancer, and a lot of these can be traced back to what we eat. Okay, goes all oils. I guess you don't have to click on tabs. You can also just scroll down. Uh, there's controversy about oils, uh, but they like what's called unsaturated oils and not the margarine. Margarine has something called trans fatty acids. Has anybody heard that term? Most likely you have heard saturated and unsaturated. We'll go over that in a little bit. Okay, so limit saturated fat they're talking about. And here they tell you what? Butter. And of course, the animal food tends to be very high in saturated fat. The one way you can tell, anybody know how you can easily tell what's saturated and what's unsaturated? No guess?
Whether it freezes at room temperature or not. I mean, whether it gets
Yeah, exactly.
okay,
Exactly. If
okay.
it's solid at room temperature, it's high in saturated fat. If it's liquid at room temperature, it's has more unsaturated fat. And we might get to why. There's a reason for that. And then there's all things in the middle. Like coconut oil is solid at room temperature, but if you just get a little warm day, it melts. Olive oil is liquid at room temperature, put in the fridge, and it turns solid, as many of you may have discovered. Whereas other oils won't. So it depends on the amount of saturated and unsaturated. So how's everybody doing with this? We okay? If so, I'm going to move on. Are we seeing the slides principle of healthy eating? Okay. Um, this is from a book. He's got a new book out now, The Spectrum by Dean Ornish. Just a little word about Dean Ornish, because in future weeks I'm going to actually give you some videos. You'll see him. He's cardiologist, but he's also on the faculty at University of California, San Francisco, UCSF. UCSF is one of the premier med schools in the country, so it means something he's there. But the big thing is his program, which includes not only diet, but other lifestyle uh, issues such as managing stress and emotions, loving and kindness and community support. He takes people and puts them in a room and they form like a group support system. He's gotten Medicare to pay for his program. In other words, people can sign up for his program and Medicare will pay for it. To me, that's when you think about it, the food industry makes money on things that are not so good for us. But the medical insurance companies, they make money when we stay healthy. So the fact that he got the insurance companies to pay for it says that it's kind of they're all about money. They're not about nonsense. So that's to me part of the efficacy. Has anybody heard of omega-3 fatty acids? Raise your hand. Yes? Okay. Anybody know what they are? You do. What are they, Renee? You have to unmute yourself if you can figure it out. Okay. Sharon, you-
Yeah, well, I know that they're I don't know exactly what they do, but flax seeds and flaxseed oil and um
right.
fish oil and fish oil pills
Yes.
and yeah, that kind of stuff.
So fatty acids have a role, but we make most of our fatty acids. But a few of them we can't make, and the omega-3s are the ones we can't make. What a fatty acid is these oxygens are acid. And then carbon's a unique molecule. It's the molecule of life because for several reasons. It can form four different bonds. It's in the middle, like oxygen likes to grab electrons, chlorine likes to grab, sodium likes to give. So you put sodium chloride together, which is salt. Uh, the sodium loses its electron, becomes a positive charge, and the chlorine becomes negative. And one way you can demonstrate this is you put a light bulb with a battery and make the circuit go through a beaker of water. If you have distilled water, the light will be very dim. Stir in a little salt, it'll turn bright because you have now positive charge that can conduct the electricity. Anyway, that's an aside. So all these little bumps here are actually carbon atoms. Carbon is also combined to itself in long chains, and that's why it forms the scaffolding. That's why it is um, the molecule of life, because it forms the network that all the chemistry can form off of, if you will, like the acid is. But also, well, there's many things. I'm not going to go through it. Membranes are one thing. So this little two lines here means a double bond. Saturated means there's no double bonds, saturated with hydrogen. Now with a double bond, it can go two ways, this long straight way or this bent way, is cis. So this is a trans fatty acid. It does not occur in nature. It occurs in things like making margarine, where you bubble hydrogen through something with a lot of these double bonds. And these double bonds mean unsaturated. But trans is not in nature, and it's been associated with health problems. Notice the bend in a cis fatty acid, so unsaturated, and they can have more than one of these double bonds. The fact that this is bent means that it does not pack very well, and that's why it's liquid. Straight, you can pack them together, and that means they're more stable at a, say, room temperature. Uh, whereas when they're less stable, when they're all bent like this, and you can't get them to nicely line up, then they're not as stable, and they'll melt at a lower temperature. So they'll be liquid at room temperature. So that's the difference between saturated and unsaturated, and this is trans and this is cis. And then you can see sometimes they have multiple. Okay. What omega is the end here with the oxygen. This is called an acid, by the way. It's an organic acid. That's the alpha N, Greek alphabet. The very tail is the omega. Omega-3s are between the third and fourth atom in from the tail. That's your omega-3s. It's a double bond. Excuse me. It's a double bond between 3 and 4. This would be omega-6. This would be omega-9. Okay. So that's all the chemistry I'm going to give you. Is that hopefully I didn't lose anybody there? I had to pull back because I was a biochemistry major. So I was okay. These things are very energy rich and they aren't soluble in water. So fats are good energy sources, but they build up in the arteries. They give problems. Okay. We don't need to go into this. The fact is you cannot make the omega-3s or omega-6, and they're needed for a few things, hormones that the body makes. So they have a limited need for in the body, but they're definitely there. Membranes, maybe you've heard of myelin sheath. Um, what's it called when you demyelination is? I'm blanking on the name of the disease, but yeah, there's a neurological disease. The myelin is kind of an insulation around the nerves. And if you lose that, uh, come on, what's it's common, it'll come to me. As Sharon said, ground flax seeds. Ornish talks about fish oil. You don't need fish oil. By the way, I was almost going to bring it. But what I do is flax seeds, if you just take them whole, they tend to come out of you whole. But you just put them in a coffee grinder and you grind them up and then add them to a cereal. And chia seeds are good. Walnuts are good. Kale and other dark leafy vegetables. Those are your sources. So notice we're talking about this. So there's still in the nutrition community talk about individual nutrients, even though whole eating patterns are now what's, uh, of course, low carb diets, low fat diets. This is the big argument. Um, what Ornish is saying, what I think nutrition is saying, it's not the carbs, it's the kind of carbs. And what here is refined carbohydrates. What happens is uh, yeah, you can read all this. This is a chart of blood glucose. So glucose is the simple six carbon sugar. That's the unit. That's the preferred brain. It's the preferred energy source for muscle. Even though the energy is more dense in fat, you have to break it down. It's um, not as readily used. The brain really requires glucose and a starvation. If you don't get glucose, like people go on a low carb diet, the brain has to do some gymnastics to get around that. But the thing of it is, glucose, this basic carbohydrate unit, it um, it's a very reactive molecule. If the blood level's too high, you get things like cataracts, you get all kinds of problems. So the body controls the level. If you have too little, then there's not enough energy floating around the bloodstream to feed everybody. So the body wants to control it. And when you give it some of these foods that are simple carbohydrates, they're not starches that go into the bloodstream too fast, then the body secretes insulin to bring it down. And you see these spikes. The spikes in the dotted line are when you use things like white sugar. Sucrose is the most common sugar we have. It's made up of two glucoses, really. I mean, glucose and fructose, just different isomer are the same thing, as opposed to starch, which takes time. So it's a matter of timing. The simple sugars go into the blood too fast. It shoots up too far. The body secretes insulin like mad, and then that causes it to dip too low. And then you have the sugar high, and then you have the sugar trough. You've probably experienced that. So what happens? People eat more sugar. What happens eventually when you're getting too much of this is the cells that normally take up insulin, they become, or with they're stimulated by insulin to take up sugar, mainly the muscle and the liver, they become insensitive. That's type 2 diabetes. You're making insulin, but the body is not as reactive. And therefore, you start losing the control of the sugar, which is so important. Type 1 diabetes is more rare. It is when uh, there's only a few cells that make insulin in the part of the pancreas. Somehow they get destroyed and your body can't make insulin. And then type 1 diabetes, they have to take a shot. But type 2, the insulin is there, but the body is not responding. And then you need more. And then people take shots. So any question about that? So it's not about the carbohydrates. It's, again, complex carbohydrates. And complex carbohydrates come with other nutrients. Sugar is just sugar. It isn't, you know, you eat a nice whole grain, you're getting a lot of things besides the whole grain, which is a starch, which is Starch is mainly just a lot of glucose is hooked together, and it takes time for the body to break that down. So it's a matter of timing, but also it's a matter of getting other nutrients. How are we doing with all this? Is this too technical for us, or is this conversation useful, or can you just read it? What do you think, Carl?
Um, I think it would be a good idea maybe to share some good food advice rather than the academic background on it.
Okay, well, this essentially this whole glucose area and refining, uh, pulling back on the simple sugars is the reason that they recommend the dietary guidelines recommend half of your grains be whole grains. Okay, because well, first of all, the whole grain has other stuff, but well, no, I mean, I'm sorry. This is the dietary guidelines. Remember the other topics to limit your sugar. So the recommendation now is to really, and I think you'll feel better. But a lot of that means preparing your own food. Sugar is just everywhere. As many of you probably, some of you have probably discovered. Uh, and why? It's addictive. Because, I mean, really, you could say it this one way, you can just say it. Our bodies evolved in a time when food was hard to get. So, hey, sugar is quick calories, and there was not very often you would get it. So, our taste evolved to like it, and the food industry has taken advantage of that. The so-called addictive taste, also fats, sugar fats, uh, sugar, oil, salt, SOS diet. These are addictive tastes that, yeah, are good for selling food, but not so good for the body because we're in a stage where we get too much. Salt used to be hard to come by. The word salary comes from the Latin word for salt because Roman soldiers were paid in salt because it was so valuable. But nowadays we get tons of it. And almost anything you buy in a convenience store. Does that help? Yeah, in other words, what's the relevance of all this? And again, so now what the nutritionists have gone to is good carbs, bad carbs. Good carbs. Again, you're going to see this over and over. Fruits, what we should be eating more of? Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, soy. Less of this stuff, less red meat. You see it basically, the dietary guidelines are they're not saying, it's just a matter of degree of what different people say. But this is, and again, this is, I think I went over all of this. Energy balance. What you include. This is something here again about whole foods. And again, this is about the shift from looking at individual nutrients. Are we getting enough protein? We enough get enough of this vitamin? Are we getting enough omega-3s and all that? The shift in emphasis is into whole eating pattern. And one of the things to realize is this is from Dr. Ornish's book. He's saying that there's about 10,000 substances in food, and we don't know what they all do. Okay? We know the big ones that we know if you don't get enough vitamin C, you get scurvy and a few things like that. But we really are just scratching the surface. And nature is wiser than we are. And eating foods the way nature gave it to us, to be poetic about it, but that's actually works with the science too. And then you'll see superfoods. Yeah, that's a whole thing. Get this superfood. I've seen pomegranate juice. I've seen this. That's again marketing. Again, if you're taking fruits or and again, not fruit drinks, which have a little fruit flavor in them, maybe a small amount of fruit and a lot of sugar and whatever else. Best is whole fruit or dried fruit or something like that. Uh, we don't know everything that's in there, okay? But they're all super. I'd say instead of superfoods, eat what's in season. Eat local. It's good for the economy. Um, and some of the, Orange likes some of these. Dr. Ornish likes some of these traditional spices, turmeric, ginger, rosemary, sage, all these things. And these are ways to make your food taste good. We're gonna maybe in the next couple weeks talk about the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. He, when he was borough president in Brooklyn, he woke up and couldn't see, and it's because his uh, blood glucose was off the chart. He had severe diabetes. He went out to Cleveland, Cleveland Clinic, where there's a man, Esselstein, put him on, basically a plant-based diet and actually cured him. But he said when they went out there, they thought they were going to eat, wow, I can't eat all my normal foods. It won't taste good. But in fact, um, you can make whole foods taste really good if you just learn to cook them. And one of the big things is how you spice it. You don't need a lot of salt. You don't need a lot of sugar. You can learn to use spices in innovative ways, getting good cookbooks. Let's see. Yeah, you mentioned in your work, Sharon, about the gut. So cultured probiotics aid in digestion. So there's a whole thing. Our digestive system, our large intestine is filled with bacteria. And it's the population that matters. And that is partly by the food we eat, but also partly that we have some what's called cultural products. In other words, you're actually seeding uh, the right bacteria into your really the lower intestine more, some to the small intestine. Most of the digestion happens in small intestine and elimination to the large intestine. And again, anti-inflammatory, but again, it's the same stuff. Foods that are blood markers of inflammation, sweets, desserts, refined grains, meats. So you keep coming back to the same thing. And this kind of diet is good for um, the heart, and we'll see evidence of it for cancer in a couple of weeks, and it's also um, diabetes. Well, if we believe Eric Adams, he's a very colorful player. I think I'll leave you with this. There's a term called nutrient density. If you look at this, first of all, here's a whole plant-based diet. Here's animal foods. This isn't from Ornish. This is from another source. Look, the protein level in this is not so bad. And what is it? It's a blend of mango, peas, broccoli, kale, and oats. 100 calories of each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 calories, which is about a fourth of the calorie input for your day. And it's already got half the protein need of a man. And it's got all this other stuff. Animal foods, less, except for vitamin B12. If you're going a whole plant-based diet, you have to have a source of vitamin B12, which, by the way, you can get in nutritional yeast. But the worst is refined plants. So a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to be vegan. It's good for the environment. It's good for me. And they eat whatever they were eating, just take out the animal food. Well, that's about the worst thing you can do if you're eating a lot of donuts and the vegan bakery and all of that. So it's a matter of trying to get more in this group. And if you're not able or willing to give up all animal foods, Certainly, I'd say dairy in the yoga tradition, dairy is still used, although dairy in India is a lot different than dairy here, as I think Dada will attest to. I know, having having been uh, in training in India for 6 weeks, the yogurt we had there was very different, and it had more of the whey, which has the microbiotics. The okay. Any question on all this? Okay, SOS diet. And again, if you go into any convenience store, I do this little thing when we're stopping for gas in the bathroom when traveling. I go through the convenience store. Is there anything here I'd want to eat? And oftentimes there might be one very sad old orange or banana. And this is why we're having health problems in the United States. Rows and rows of this stuff. Okay, salt, too much salt, too much sugar. Look at this ketchup, high corn fructose corn syrup, more fattening than sucrose or fats. So it's right down here in the ingredients. It's right here, pretty high up. I just took this picture while I was at a restaurant. Uh, Co-ops, farm markets, good sources. These are things you can do. Okay. The other reading was from T. Colin Campbell, who's, I'd say, more, I'm not going to go over it because of the time. Uh, he's more vehemently vegan, if you will, than Ornish. He wants to be completely plant-based. This is his book, China Study. He's Professor Cornell, and as a matter of being transparent, I took nutritional biochemistry from him when I was a graduate student at Cornell. It was a graduate level course, so I'm a little bit predisposed towards his method, but um, basically, the China study was a big epidemiological study. I think the last thing I'll look for is why do we know this stuff? Let's see if I have it in here. There are three ways nutritionists find information. They work with animals where they can completely control the diet, usually rats or mice. Dr. Campbell made his career mostly with that, and then he got invited to do what's called epidemiology, where you look at disease patterns and how they correspond to diets. And the China study was unique because it had a fairly, this is China, by the way, in the 1980s. It's not China now. China does not eat the way now, the way it ate in the 1980s, but rural China in particular. And what you find in developing countries, and maybe Carl, you've been in many developing countries, you can maybe verify this, that they have a different disease pattern. They'll have the infectious diseases, they'll have parasites and things like that, but they don't have the chronic diseases. They don't have the high levels of heart disease and cancer and stuff. It isn't that it's not unknown, but much lower instances, and that's what was documented in the China study. And then along with the difference. And the thing about the China study was its volume, its mass. They had a lot of people, and they were invited. He was part of a team that was invited by the premier of China, who was, I think, dying of cancer at the time. Okay, so uh, you can read through this. We don't really have time to go through it tonight, but that's who he was. He was actually the son of a dairy farmer. So he changed. His whole outlook evolved. It didn't start at this place. He evolved over time from the science. Okay. Any thoughts or questions? If not, I want to end with a meditation that I posted for today that I'd like to try for you. Yeah, we have about 5 minutes. So let's take a deep breath, switch gears, come out of the intellectual side. I hope this hasn't been too much, but we're gonna actually come back to a little bit of this in week 7, but more from the point of view of what what's been done to turn around the chronic diseases that Americans are suffering from. So at this point, let's just close our eyes, get to a comfortable position. Closing your eyes and start with just some breathing, breath awareness. Well, start with your posture, nice and erect. And then come aware of the sensation of each in-breath and each sensation of each out-breath. If you like, you can put a mantra or um, affirmation to it. Now mention the breath coming right from the center of your heart center. Remember the center of the sternum. Place right between the breaths. Allow feelings of love and compassion to emanate from your heart with each exhale. And receiving love and compassion from the universe, if you will, with each inhale, right through the heart center. Now let your heart center expand to include someone who makes you happy. A good friend, someone you love but whom you don't have too complicated a relationship with. It could be a good friend, a relative, a child, even a beloved pet. Just go to the first person or pet that comes to mind. And in your own way, imagine having fun and being happy with this person. Somebody you enjoy being with. Notice the physical sensations you feel in your body as you're enjoying time with your friend. Could be a sense of warmth or a feeling in your belly, or just noticing whatever you experience. Letting go of judgments and expectations, and just notice what you experience when you feel happy being with someone you enjoy being with. What's the feeling? Now send warmth and love to your friend with phrases like, may you be happy. May you be healthy and strong. May you be free from fear. May you be loved and cared for. May you live in peace. And just keep repeating messages to your friend. Your mind wanders, you feel any judgments about this process, just notice them, and then bring your mind back to repeating phrases like, may you be happy, may you be healthy and strong, May you be free from fear. May you be loved and cared for. May you live in peace. Now imagine your friends sending warmth, messages of warmth and love back to you. May you be happy. May you be healthy and strong. May you be free from fear. May you be loved and cared for. May you live in peace. As best you can, be open to accepting loving kindness from your friend. As they say to you, may you be happy. May you be healthy and strong. May you be free from fear. May you be loved and cared for. May you live in peace. Now try sending love and compassion to yourself, repeating over and over, may I be happy. May I be healthy and strong. May I be free from fear. May I be loved and cared for. May I live in peace. You find it difficult to send love and compassion to yourself, as many people do. Imagine yourself as a small child, innocent yet vulnerable, and send that child love and compassion. May you be happy. May you be healthy and strong. May you be free from fear. May you be loved and cared for. May you live in peace. Now let love and compassion flow from you to people you don't know as well. Maybe some of your neighbors in the local community, distant relations, the whole nation, and finally people in far off lands who are struggling and having a hard time. May we be happy. May we be healthy and strong. May we be free from fear. May we be loved and cared for. May we live in peace. Your mind wanders just for another minute or so. Bring it, notice what you carried you away and bring it back to sending love and compassion to our whole planet. May we be happy. May we be healthy and strong. May we be free from fear. May we be loved and cared for. May we live in peace. And then bring your mind back to your breath, the full sensation of each in-breath, full sensation each out-breath, breath by breath and moment by moment. And when you're ready, coming back and opening your eyes. I guess I can stop sharing this. Okay. I think, is there, well, any thoughts or any questions? If not, you unmute yourself if you do. Otherwise, maybe we can stop the recording here.